In today's episode, I'm going to give you my watch list for tomorrow, and I'm going to share the game plan for the week ahead. Now, I always like to start these episodes by taking a look back at the previous week. And what I can tell you is that the last week was one of the hottest weeks of the entire year. We had some really serious momentum. It was impressive. And by the way, for those that don't recall, I dropped my account on July 3rd. I took $290,000 out of this account. Now, this is a Roth IRA, so I did a direct rollover from this Roth IRA to another one that I have for just long-term investments. All right, so I had $377,000 in the account coming into July, and after a bunch of these really small green days, you can see 300, 500. I just kind of felt like, what am I doing here? I don't need this much money in this account. Even if I put 300 grand into short-term treasuries, I'm going to make more money over the next 6 months, most likely with that 300, because the amount of money I actually need for day trading, well, typically my average positions, if I'm buying 10,000 shares of a $3 stock, it's only 30 grand. I don't need 300 grand or 400 grand in my account. So I took that money out, which brought my account from 377 down to $87,000. On that day, I made a net of about 7,000. So my account grew by 10%. And now I'm all the way back up here to 133,000 bucks. So I'm sitting at 54,000 gross profit on the month. That's halfway to a six-figure month, and it's June 14th. So, we're I guess kind of, halfway through the month. If I can keep it up, it's going to be a six-figure month. But this is what we've kind of been seeing. So this really nice hot cycle, $8,000-$10,000 days back to back to back. These were 4 days in a row just in the last 4 trading days where I was above $10,000. Which is great. Now, a couple of the days, so like Thursday, I finished at my high, and you could see I just kept adding like a little more profit, a little more profit, a little more profit. This was a really solid finish, although I started the day by going red almost 4,000 bucks. So started in the red and then rallied back, which is kind of interesting. On Wednesday, I started very nicely in the green, but then gave back about 30% and closed a little off the high. So I was sort of thinking about that, of which I would prefer, to go red $3,000, $4,000 and then finish it high, or to go up, to peak and then give back 3,000 off the top. I don't like going red on the day ever, because it puts me kind of like, I'm really in the defense mode, going in the red. Now I've got to kind of play it safe, be more conservative, dig my way out. So I guess I'd prefer just to go big green and then give back a little off the top if I had to choose one or the other. The only period this year, the only week that was better so far was this week here in February, where I was up $60,000. So that's the only week so far that has topped this week. But February in total with 131,000 was the best month of the year. So that was the best month of the year. We then went into to March, which was a $20,000 month. That was slower. Then we went into April, which was 45,000. Not bad, but not any big week. May, 47,000. Again, solid, decent, but nothing exceptional. June, 35,000, a little slower. And here we are, July, already at 54,000. And I missed the day on Friday. I had a doctor's appointment. I could not miss it. So it had been scheduled for a while. And it's just the luck of the draw that, of course, it would be a week where I felt some FOMO missing the day on Friday. I was disappointed about this because my hindsight bias was telling me that if I had traded on Friday, I would have crushed it. But I did keep an eye on, the chat room and what other people were doing. And I actually saw a number of people struggled on Friday. And so let's kind of talk about what happened on Friday. And then that helps set the stage for the expectation for Monday. So Friday began, let's pull up the gap scanner. All right. So gap scan, which one am I looking for? I'm going to do top gappers up here. So when I pulled up my phone, just to kind of, see what was moving in the market, I knew I wasn't going to be able to trade. I saw TOYY TOYO, making a squeeze up. So TOYO, we can look up company info here. So Cayman Islands, Vietnam, Sun Energy Cell Company, Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Interesting. Okay. So it's not a US company. So this on the daily chart is showing that it was a somewhat recent IPO. Had sold off for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, and then had 60 million shares of volume on Friday. But let's look at the 1 minute chart on this. So on this one, I saw that early, this was around 6:15, it pops up and it drops down. So this is kind of actually a move that if you told me this was a chart from Thursday or Wednesday that I traded, I would be like, yep, no, I know. And I bought right here. I stopped out down here for a loss. And then I got back in here and, crushed it on the way up. Because we had a couple other stocks that did this same exact chart. Popped up, and this is a nice pop. I mean, it went from $1.60 up to $2. So, it's up 30%, whatever. Nice move. It flushes back down, and then it rallies back up. So it goes up to 2, and then breaks to 220, flushes down to 190, comes up to 235, pulls back right here, micro pullback, pushes up here to 280. And then look at this candle from 280 all the way down to like 2. That's a sharp drop for a stock of this price range. Bounces back up to 280, double top. All right, so now we've got some real whips and volatility. And note that volume on red candles is higher. So higher volume selling to start the day. Now it ends up coming back up here at about 7 a.m. What we know about 7 a.m. is that this is when Thinkorswim traders, Robinhood traders come online. A lot of traders can't even trade pre-market this early. So this was the leading gapper, and right at 7 a.m., it punches through 260, goes up to 280, hits a high of 320, pulls back, goes up to 380, 350, 380, 390 peak. Wow. And then all the way back down to 310. Again, high volume selling. So this one had high volume selling, and that was kind of the main problem with it. So as the day went on, it just ended up selling off some more. So I had some FOMO thinking, oh, on this move here, I probably would have made at least, I could have gotten in for the break of that pre-market high at 268, $1 a share. Could have been able to make, 3 or 4 grand on it. Darn it. All right. And then there was another one, ABVE, I think it was. So this one, daily chart, similar, right? Almost identical daily chart, in fact. Selling off here, recent IPO, and then all that volume on Friday. So let's look at the chart on this. This thing hits the scanners and goes from 250 up to 450 and then all the way back down. Yikes. That's a close call. So now we're seeing traders jumping in stuff moving, and then we're getting the rug pulled out from underneath us. Some higher volume selling. And let's see. So I was watching these from the sidelines. Doesn't look like there was any news on this one. And then what was the other one? TOYO. Toyo. Was there any news on that one? I don't see news from Friday. I could be mistaken, but I don't see news from Friday. So it looks like we kind of got a couple of these stocks that popped up and dropped down with no news. So what was interesting last week, we began with ZAPP. And this was a stock that was squeezing up for several days in a row, but it had news that was driving the move, at least initially. And then it became more of a momentum play, which is fine. But that was sort of the setup that we had here on ZAPP. So this was the one that we were watching going into Monday morning. And if you recall, on my watch list last week, my weekly watch list, Zap was on the list. I said Zap is worth watching because it closed strong. So if we go all the way back here, let's see, this was go back here. Yeah, so it was right here. So I said this is going to be on watch because we had such a strong close. We had a strong close right here on Friday. I said this is going to be on watch for a break of Friday's highs. And then Monday morning, boom, it's already off to the races. And then we got that short squeeze right there from 5 up to 8. And that gave me $10,000 of profit on Monday morning. A great start to the week. And that was straight off this watch list here. The other one I had on my watch list was ANVS, which also gave us a really nice move. So 2 of those right off the watch list from Friday going up on Monday. So stay tuned to this entire episode because we may have some good ideas for tomorrow. Okay, so then the result on Friday was that we had a lot of stocks that were moving, and same with Thursday, but a lot of them were popping up and dropping, and they didn't have a strong news catalyst. And then IVP ends up taking off here, and this is one that we've traded over the course of, we've been trading it all week, right? It keeps moving higher, and then Friday, all of a sudden, first candle on the daily makes a new high right here, and this thing rips up, and it's really, really strong. So we get a squeeze up into a halt, open higher, and then sell off, and then rip up here again. I think this was another halt, and then squeezes up higher, and then flushes down, and then pushes higher, and then flushes down. Okay, so what was interesting about this was that you did have some people that were trying to push it down, but look at the volume on these red candles. The volume on this red candle is a little higher. The volume on this red candle is a little higher, but the volume on this one's a little lower. And then it ended up coming down to volume weighted average price, pulling back, blah, 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 blah. And then into the close, it's strong. What was strong into the close last week? Zap. So what should we watch on Monday morning? Well, not Zap. So follow along. IVP. IVP here strong into the close on Friday. So let's watch this into Monday morning because it was strong. Now, it wasn't quite as strong as Zap. It did, it was stair-stepping down, but it held above the volume weighted average price. And I think that by itself is significant. So IVP, I'm going to put that one on side chart for Monday, tomorrow. And as I look at this on the daily, we've got a window up to 22, and then we've got a little bit more room. The only problem I would say with it is that it's getting in the more expensive range. And I preferred Zap in that sort of $3 to $5 range where we got the squeeze from 5 to 7. This up around 10, 12 starts to get into the price range where a mistake on this with 4,500 shares drops 2 points and I'm down $9,000 to start the day, right? So I do have to be careful with this one. Could be volatile, but should certainly keep it on watch. Okay, so this one, 14.11 there. And it ended up being up 88%. The only one that was higher was VEV, and this was a low price penny stock. We did also, however, see some penny stocks on Friday. They were making these kind of moves from 40 cents up to $1.60 and then back down. So I think, traders sort of, as per my episode on Thursday, chasing momentum. And that works, until you start finding ones that are going up, but they really don't have any catalyst. And then shorts are going to get more aggressive, shorting it on the way back down. So let's see. Now let's pull up another scan here. Let me grab my continuation scanner. Okay, so continuation scanner here. So Zap, ZAPP. Put this over here. This one, unfortunately, because it's below the 200 moving average, I'm not sure that we're going to see more opportunities on this. It's going to be volatile, but that 200 moving average kind of throws off the chart for me. KZIA, skipping over this one, the float's a little too high. KZIA, I'm not interested in either. It's a little too cheap. SNGX, so this is one that I think is worth keeping on watch. I'm going to put it on a side chart. It is also below the 200, but it hasn't really had its first day of a strong bounce. It did have, you could see this first move, pulls back, pops up at 4 a.m., pulls back, kind of tries, sells off, little pop, sells off. But if it seems like it's kind of basing out here between 6 and 7. So if we could get a break of that wedge to the upside, we might get a move back up towards 10. 200 is at 12. So we do have some room on that. So I keep SNGX on a side chart, IVP on a side chart. Those are both possibilities. VRPX, or sorry, yeah, VRPX. This one's a little cheaper. Not interested in this chart. It popped up, pulled back too much. MLGO, it did pop up the other day, but someone was asking me why I didn't want to trade it. And I just felt like, this MLGO, oops, I'll go to this chart. It's just it's just so, I mean, look, on the one hand, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 red candles in a row. First candle popping up, can be a good opportunity. But even then, it didn't bounce very well. But it's definitely on the backside of the move. So I didn't have a lot of interest in MLGO, left that one alone. LCFY had a good day on this one during the week. This one is worth watching as well for kind of that bounce, that first daily candle to bounce back up. It did have a bit of a topping tail here. So I'm not sure how well that pattern is going to work when, we've been in a market where we've been seeing some big moves, but then traders completely abandon that stock for something else. So I think we probably are going to continue to be chasing momentum a little bit around the market and not as much going back to the well of, oh, this one was hot a couple days ago. Maybe it'll be hot again today. I think traders are going to be too fickle for that. But IVP is a little different because this is one that's continuing on the daily to be strong. So it's not letting shorts off the hook. And that could get exciting if it starts to pull away. So that one's a little bit different, but some of these others that are on the continuation scan, even costs, I just don't really have high expectations for these giving us like a big move. LGVN, NAAS, kind of same issue with all of these. So I think I'm going to leave these alone. ANVS, this one, unfortunately, some weird stuff going on up around 18. There were big bidders and then they would flip to the offer. So kind of trying to push the price up and then push it back down. So I don't know what was going on there, but that was kind of not trustworthy. ATNF, nothing there. Overall market, I'm not sure how, if we'll see a market reaction to the events over the weekend in Pennsylvania, the assassination attempt of Trump. Sounds like this 20-year-old kid with a big gun tried to blow his head off and missed, which just like by a teeny amount. I'm not sure if that, I feel like that only helps Trump. So I wonder if the market's going to respond positively to that on Monday. But I don't know. I mean, the thing with politics is that we have people from all different political spectrums that are here to trade the markets. And so I don't try to make my commentary especially politically biased one way or another, because we're here to focus on trading and making money. But it's also true that politics can have at times an effect on the market. And so, when you have some big thing happen or you have elections, that can have an effect. So from that perspective, it's worth the mention. And that's the only thing I'm wondering is if we see his ratings or his projections for winning going up in response to surviving that attempt, because that was pretty wild. And obviously with Biden's fumbles and, I feel like all Trump has to do is just let Biden keep digging his own kind of hole there with these confusing remarks. And so I think the market's going to respond positively to the prospect of Trump being reelected, because usually Republican in office means less regulation for big companies, and that means more profitability, possible tax cuts and things like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Historically, historically, based on just return, the market's actually performed higher when Democrats are in office. But some people would argue that that's because if the predecessor was a Republican, it takes some time for their changes to kind of trickle down to the balance sheet of these companies that are reporting earnings during the beginning of a Democratic, period of control. So, anyways, we'll see what happens, but just something to keep on the radar for the overall market. The market was kind of funny though. On Thursday, we had this big, we had CPI numbers, and then there was something else that came out, and then we had this sell off, and then we had this rally back up here, and then a little sell off into the close. It's actually pretty remarkable when you look at the overall market and you step back for a second and you just see that, from October of last year, we were at 400 on the S&P. Now we're at 559. I mean, the market is really volatile. We were down to 350. Now we're up to 550. I mean, that's 200 points from the low there to the high. What kind of boggles my mind is the idea of pension funds and, all these retirement accounts being so heavily invested in the S&P ETF, and this ETF, has shown that it can drop 30% in 2 weeks, and then it can go up 50% in 6 months. We talk about sometimes cryptocurrency and Bitcoin not being stable as a currency because the price goes up and down so much, but look at the S&P 500. I mean, the S&P 500, if you're looking for stability, is extremely volatile in this period. It's just these are huge ranges. So anyways, I guess that's a side note, but anyways, overall market has been very strong, and that has definitely trickled down. I don't think it's the reason that small caps have been as strong as they've been though. This small cap cycle started with costs, and then the Reddit thread that all of a sudden prompted this huge move from $4 to $20 or whatever it was. And then we had ZAPP, multiple days of continuation, not giving up. We had ANVS, multiple days of continuation, not giving up. And now we've got IVP, multiple days of continuation, not giving up. This is where shorts are getting a little bit nervous to short anything, because which one is going to keep going higher, and longs are starting to, they're in the driver's seat right now for sure. The question is, how long do the longs stay in the driver's seat before we see this tide changing? With yesterday or Friday seeing some pops and drops, that will give shorts a cushion. So we'll have to be a little careful about that. My thought right now is to aggressively trade the front side of the move, be willing to trade if it gives a nice 5-minute pullback and pushes through new highs. If it's pushing through new highs, then we're still moving higher. I'm going to keep trading it. But if we start stair-stepping down, or we start seeing these big red candles like that, then at that point, step back, sit on the sidelines, and most likely wait for the next opportunity, or wait for that chart to completely reset. So as always, I'll be streaming bright and early tomorrow morning. If you're not already doing a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, there'll be a link pinned to the top of the comments, linked in the description. You can do a 2-week trial. You can watch over my shoulder while I'm streaming. You can use our charts, use our scanners, use the news feed. That's all part of the Day Trade Dash platform that you'll get access to during your trial. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you as always for tuning in. And I'll remind you that trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you back here for my recap tomorrow.